Have you ever faced a problem so huge, so profound, that you felt the only right thing to do was just be silent about it? Now, imagine spending your entire life trying to explain that very same problem to the whole world. Well, that was the incredible dilemma facing Gregory of Nazianzus, right in the middle of one of history's biggest, most high-stakes intellectual battles. And this was Gregory's own position. He genuinely believed that the way the Son of God came from the Father was a mystery so deep, so far beyond anything we could ever wrap our heads around, that the only proper response was just quiet reverence. This was something he felt that even angels couldn't fully get. So what chance did we have?
And that's the big question, isn't it? That's the dilemma. Why would a man who preached silence on this one topic end up spending his life crafting some of the most brilliant and powerful arguments about it ever known? Well, let's dive in and find out.
Okay, so to really get what Gregory was up against, you have to understand the world he was living in. We're talking about the 4th century Roman Empire. Christianity was finally free from persecution, but now it was facing a totally new kind of threat, one that was coming from the inside.
And it all boiled down to one single question that was threatening to rip the faith in two. Who exactly was Jesus the Son? Was he truly 100% God, totally equal to God the Father? Or was he something else, something less? Maybe our created being, the greatest of all creations for sure, but still not God in the way the Father was God. Literally, everything hinged on the answer.
So yeah, the battle lines were drawn pretty clearly. On one side, you had the belief that the Son was fully divine, completely equal to the Father, and absolutely worthy of worship. But on the other side, you had this powerful argument that, no, he was a created being. He was subordinate and fundamentally different from the Father. This wasn't just some academic debate, you guys. This was a fight for the very soul of Christianity. Now, we have to give credit where it's due. Gregory's opponents, a group known as the Eunomians, were not messing around. They built their case on what seemed like absolutely airtight logic, and it's really important to understand just how convincing their argument actually was. They really thought they had cracked the code, that they had found the key to defining the very essence of God. And from that one key, they built a case that was so simple, so powerful, and for a lot of people, totally and completely convincing. Okay, so check this out. Their logic was beautiful in its simplicity. It starts with premise 1, what is the one thing that makes God, God? Well, it's that he has no beginning, no origin. God is, by his very nature, unbegotten, right? Makes sense. Then premise 2, the Son, by his own title, is begotten of the Father. And from there, the conclusion felt unavoidable. If the Father's essence is unbegotten and the Son is begotten, then they can't possibly share the same essence. The Son has to be something different, and by extension, something less than God. So what do you do when you're faced with what looks like a perfect logical trap? Well, if you're Gregory of Nazianzus, you don't just try to find a flaw in the logic. No, you do something way more brilliant. You flip the entire chessboard over. He essentially looked at their argument and said, you know what? Your logic is perfect. A plus B does equal C. The problem is your whole starting point, your premise A, is totally wrong. The Eunomians had made a gigantic error in their very first assumption.
And this right here was his absolute masterstroke. The Eunomians were saying that the word Father was a name describing God's essence, that it basically meant unbegotten. Gregory comes back and says, no, you've got it all wrong. Father doesn't tell you what God is, it tells you who God is to someone else. It's a name of pure, eternal relationship. The Father is only the Father because he has a Son, and the Son is only the Son because he has a Father. Their very identities are wrapped up in each other.
This quote is it's mind-bending, and it completely shatters the Eunomian argument. See, they were trying to trap Gregory in a timeline, right? Like, first there was a father, and then, at some point, he created a son. Gregory just sidesteps the whole trap by yanking time out of the equation entirely. He's saying the son's begetting wasn't an event in time, it's an eternal reality. There was never a moment the Father wasn't the Father, which means there was never a moment the Son wasn't the Son.
All right, so that takes care of the big philosophical brain teaser. But what about the Bible? Gregory's opponents had a whole list of verses where Jesus seems weaker or limited or subordinate to the Father. Gregory needed a practical tool for reading those texts, and he delivered in a big way. He gave his followers what you could call an interpretive master key to unlock all those confusing scriptures. He said, look, you always have to remember that Christ is two things at once. He is fully God and fully man. So when you read something that sounds lofty, powerful, eternal, you attribute that to his divine nature.
But when you read about weakness, suffering, hunger, or even death, you attribute that to the human nature he took on for us.
And once you have this key, all those paradoxes in the Bible just click into place. Gregory starts laying them out, one after another. As a man, he hungered in the desert, but as God, he is the living bread that feeds the world.
As a man, he got tired and sat by a well. Yet as God, he is our rest.
As a man, he weeps at the tomb of his friend. Yet, as God, he's the one who causes all tears to cease forever.
As a man, his life is sold for a measly 30 pieces of silver. Yet as God, he's the one who redeems the entire world.
And here's the ultimate paradox. As a human being, he dies on a cross. But as God, he is the source of all life, and through his own death, he destroys death itself. Once you have this key, Gregory says, the Bible's paradoxes aren't contradictions anymore. They become this beautiful, stunning portrait of the God-man.
So, why does this ancient argument from a guy they nicknamed the Theologian still matter so much today? Because what he didn't just win a debate. His insights literally shaped the future of Christian thinking for the next 2,000 years.
I mean, first off, his defense of the Son's full divinity became an absolute cornerstone of the faith. His brilliant idea of using relation instead of substance to talk about the Father and Son, well, that became the key to understanding the Trinity. It allowed the Church to say God is one, but also three distinct persons. And his two-natures approach for reading the Bible, that became a powerful tool that's been used ever since. It's really no wonder he earned a title that only one other person, John the Apostle, officially holds.
And yet, for all of his powerful, beautiful logic, Gregory brings us right back to where we started, to a place of humility. His work is a total masterclass in using human reason to defend divine mystery. But it's also a profound reminder that our words, our concepts, our best ideas, they are always going to fall short. He answered his opponents, for sure, but he leaves us with a question that echoes his very own warning. In the end, how can our finite language ever truly hope to capture the infinite?